Most know James Thompson as a controversial fighter who is known for being knocked out early in fights. However, in this video, we will go against the system and remember the fights in which James Thompson was successful in the ring. James Thompson was born in Rochdale, Greater Manchester, and early on there was no indication that he would become a fighter. He was a fairly successful rugby player, worked as a security guard, and debt collector. He was also interested in wrestling and even participated in some competitions until he watched a few Don Fry fights, which pushed James in the direction of the MMA. James Thompson was a genius of tactics, game plan, strategy, and mental warfare. Despite this, it often appeared that James would prefer to jump into the ring and play Russian roulette with every fight, testing his jaw for strength. In Thompson's second career duel, his rival is Mark Goddard, who is currently one of the best referees and at the time was a fighter with a 3-0 record. In this fight, Mark was very close to finishing it by strangulation, but James managed to escape and then himself reversed and tried a stranglehold on Goddard. Until the end of the first round, it was a rather dull match in the cage, with Mark stubbornly trying a takedown and James stopping all attempts. The second round begins and James moves Mark to the ground, but then is reversed onto his back. With this move, Mark tried to finish James, but it became his downfall as James caught up with him with a heavy blow and ended the match with a knockout. After this defeat, Mark was not satisfied and managed to get a rematch with James. In the second fight, the finish came much faster than the first. James seemed to go crazy and didn't leave Mark a single chance, eliminating him in only 18 seconds after the start of the fight. In September 2004, James defeated the legend of MMA and UFC Hall of Famer Dan Severn by a decision of the judges and, with a record of 6-1, signed a contract with Pride, where Alexander Emelianenko was waiting for him. This fight landed James on the ground as Alexander showed him that his level was still very far below what was needed to fight in the Pride and with the very best. But James' charisma and his apparent lack of self-preservation forced the bosses to leave James in for the sake of entertainment, a situation in which James felt right at home. July 2005, and James Thompson went on a duel against Henry Armstrong Miller, who was named after the famous astronaut Neil Armstrong. Henry is a sumo wrestler, but as we know, most sumo wrestlers do not do well in the MMA. Before the fight, James must have drunk a dose of aggression because he was too eager to hurt the poor sumo wrestler. At the beginning of the match, Henry approached James, trying to perform something like an overhand, followed by a takedown which would move the fight to the ground. However, Thompson's powerful work on the ground thwarted Henry's attempts. James gets to his feet and inflicts a smashing series of punches to the head of the sumo wrestler, after which he falls into a knockout. That's how James Thompson justified the confidence of the Pride bosses and arranged a fun freak fight to the delight of the public, in which he won in a landslide. His next rival was Andy Costello with a 3-2 record, and it's James's return to Britain for the Cage Rage tournament. At the beginning of the match, James turns on his crazy mode.
Constantly involved, might get tired, but he's got the clinch, but he's got to get the takedown before each one of those savage punches by the Colossus. Punches. James is coming in with the rage of punches here at Cage Rage. And Andy's already gasping.
Andy attempts to get away from the insane blows by transferring to the ground. But after the first takedown attempt, Thompson gets to his feet and continues crushing Costello.
Well, as you know, Ian, the Colossus as well from the Trojan Gym. They've got good stand-up, they've got Thai boxing, they've got Pele Reed, they've got Wayne Homeboy Turner, as well as the MMA there.
Here is the second attempt at a takedown, which brought Andy into a bad position.
On top of you, just keep on hitting. Machine ground and pound, baby.
James took the back mount and showered blows on his opponent's head until the referee stopped the fight.
Well, there's one thing for sure. Oh, there it is, there it is.
That's how James earned another victory in his career, which became his 10th with only 2 defeats. October 2005. James Thompson is again ready to give a great show for the Japanese spectators. His opponent is a fighter from Romania, Alexandru Lungu. For Lungu, it is his first fight in the MMA, and he immediately got a chance to fight with James, who is traditionally very unfriendly during the stare-down.
And people at home, he's a very nice person. Away we go.
At the very beginning, Alexandru sends Thompson to a knockdown.
Got him hurt, yes. And this is what Tommy closed guard on Luke. Yeah. You need some extension there in your legs. The NASCAR here now is just wanting to let Thompson maybe get up and sets him up for another right hand. Now This is Thompson good. wants to work to him. This is good for Thompson. Look at this.
But he allows James to get back to his feet, and in return receives a knee to the head.
Slugfest here early in round number 1. 2 minutes have gone, and now Lungu with his back to Thompson. Some right hands now to the side of Thompson and out of the.
Then James squeezes the Romanian in the corner and finishes him with hard blows until the referee intervenes to stop the beating. December 31st, 2005, Japan. James' next rival was Giant Silva. From the stare-down, you can see the aggression that Thompson wants to show in the duel. Thompson immediately runs forward and attacks Silva. Then, in a second wave of attacks from Thompson, the fighters transfer to the ground, and Thompson begins his destruction of the Brazilian fighter. James easily defeats the Giant after spending only 1.5 minutes in the cage, bringing his record at the time to 12 wins and 2 defeats. After the triumph over Silva, Thompson got himself into big trouble after losing 3 matches in a row, making this next match a critical one. 2006, his opponent was the Olympic champion, world and Asian judo champion, Tadahiko Yoshida. The Japanese had defeated Don Fry, Mark Hunt, and Tank Abbott, so this fight with Thompson, he looked like the clear favorite. James, following his style, advances on the Japanese fighter, but Yoshida skillfully transfers the fight to the ground, after which he tries to hold an armbar, but eventually loses the position. Now they are back to Thompson's element, exchanging blows.
I'm worried about the shape.
There's a throw.
But Thompson this time tried to put his weight on it, didn't. Oh, geez, didn't.
But yet, James falls into the clutches of Yoshida, who catches him in a kimura and holds James in the lock for a long time. but Thompson was able to defend himself and gets to his feet. James knocks the Japanese fighter down, and after that he tries to throw him out of the ring. He pinches Yoshida in the corner and delivers some heavy blows, which the referee allowed to continue, seeing that Yoshida was still in the fight. It was only after James took the dominant mount position that the referee realized that Yoshida was beaten and stopped the fight.
Huge upset for James Thompson.
2007, the Pride 34 tournament. James Thompson is coming off a series of 5 defeats in a row and is given the chance to lose one more time. His rival is the 42-year-old Don Fry, who inspired James to go into the MMA, and now they will have a chance to fight each other in an irony of fate. Thompson is so happy to see his idol that before the fight he is face to face with the legend, and according to his previous style, starts the match quickly at the gong. The beginning of the fight was crazy, and it seemed sure that Fry would easily defeat Thompson. But he got to his feet, and a tough fight ensued. A takedown by James, and the fight goes to the ground. James takes a back mount, but Fry manages to get to his feet. A guillotine choke from Fry, but again Thompson frees himself from capture. And while Don is trying to get on his feet, James inflicts the legend with a couple of kicks and then begins a beating. The referee of the fight was apparently the same person who allowed James to destroy Yoshida in the last fight, and this time the situation was repeated with Fry. Don missed more than a dozen extra blows in this fight because he didn't want to give up. Instead, he just stood and took the blows until it was finally ended by the referee. As for James, after this fight, there were other victories in his career, but we tried to show you the most vivid and spectacular fights in our opinion. If you liked the video, press the thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for more.